Although the Z2 is a successor to the original Zeta, it has evolved along a separate tree branch from its older brother. While the original Zeta is a well-established close-range fighter that borders along the lines of a raid, the Z2 has grown to be a mid-range hunter, almost to the point that it might even be called a sniper, disguised as a general. This is perhaps due to it being crossbred between the Zeta and the Metis. While it has the option of picking 1 of 3 different primary weapons, it has developed a strong bond with its secondary Mega Beam Rifle and relies on it for picking off its prey from a distance. Early users of the Z2 suffered greatly from thinking it was a normal frontline general, and as a result, many potential Z2 mains never made it into full adulthood. In another ecosystem created from separate developers, the Z2 may have acted differently. But in Gundam Battle Operation 2, this is the way of the Z2. Since it has evolved from the original Zeta, it still carries a similar skill set along with its signature beam rifle as an option for a primary weapon. With this equipped, it can be a deadly foe if encountered out in the wild. A quick double stun attack is not uncommon. There is also the likely possibility that it will strike with its secondary melee attack that it unlocks whenever using the Zeta Gundam beam rifle. A fully grown Z2 user will know, however, that it is not wise to heavily rely on this strategy, since it is not meant for constantly fighting at close range. Despite its predecessor having head-mounted Vulcans and a missile pod for secondary weapons, it appears that all the Z2 evolutionary points have gone into its secondary Mega Beam Rifle. This leads some to theorize that the Metis genes ended up being the more dominant ones over the Zetas. This is made more evident when one takes notice of its lack of separate ammunition when transformed into flight mode. All of its weapons in both forms share the same ammunition, and thus limits its offensive capabilities. Not to mention that the addition of a secondary weapon in flight mode, much like the original Zeta, is non-existent. It seems, according to some mech biologists, that it developed in this way to focus more on its range capabilities, to make up for the original Zeta's limitations when it comes to long-range combat. The original Zeta, as mentioned earlier, was well-versed in close-range combat, and many would say that we are fortunate that it only has the level 2 melee priority. One may not want to imagine the terror such a beast would bring if it had a level 3 melee priority. While the Z2 can potentially strike an opponent from close range, the enlarged silhouette and it hovering rather than walking reduce its handling capabilities, making it an easier target to hit for its opponents. The other weapons in its arsenal appear to have an equal bite to them, even its shrapnel bazookas, but it will lose its secondary melee weapon whenever replacing the Zeta Gundam's beam rifle. The double clay bazookas make for an easy stun option and can be used in a combo with the Mega Beam Rifle. One may wonder, however, when using such weapons if they are limiting their true potential by replacing the Zeta Gundam's beam rifle, if in fact the bazookas are being used for the same purpose. The bazookas do have a shorter range, and so, it appears they're meant more for either defensive tactics or whenever forced to engage in smaller, more confined spaces. There is, nonetheless, still the concern of stealth stunning or accidentally stunning an ally in the heat of battle. While the language of the shrapnel bazookas has proven to be a difficult one to learn for many users, when used properly with the Z2 and in combination with its Mega Beam Rifle to help keep its distance, field studies have evidently produced surprising results. This is, of course, when taking the map environment into account. On a field like the open trenches, its shrapnel clay bazookas have been known to cause substantial damage when in the hands of an experienced pilot. Despite attempting to simplify the Zeta transformation by combining ideas borrowed by the Metis, natural selection has moved on to the double Zeta. As a result, the Z2 never fully had its moment in the sun. If someone is ever struck by the Z2, it will likely be from a distance. Due to the chaotic nature of most battles, it has proven difficult to get a clear picture of the Z2. With so many creatures moving across the maps, there often isn't enough time to get a clear visual before it moves on to its next target. When actually spotted in a clear visual, it is often seen just behind its allies providing cover. Given its range capabilities, it appears that the Z2 is in fact better suited for space combat rather than ground combat, and perhaps it is there where it can perform to the fullest of its capabilities. Were it to be made more adaptable to the current ecosystem of the times, developing an additional secondary weapon when in flight mode might increase its survivability and the numbers of confirmed visual sightings out in the wild. Separating its ammunition from humanoid mode and flight mode could also help. As it stands now from current observations, it seems there's no benefit from transforming into flight mode, besides being a faster form of travel to elevated ground. Some might say that if a fellow wanderer was in search for an improved Z2, they only have to turn to the Rizal. Unfortunately, in today's world, the Rizal is currently only available through supply drops, and if one should be so lucky to find it in the recycled ticket counter. The Z2, however, is currently available at the Data Point store, for all to purchase, provided they have the rank of lieutenant. There have been theories suggesting that the Z2 was merely a placeholder until the Rigazi and Rizal were ready to take flight. This is made more evident when looking at the Rizal's arsenal and its similar silhouette, and thus, many Z2s never made it past adolescence. The evolutionary arms race left it behind in the pursuit of progress, a harsh reality that many must face. It may not be fair, but such is the way of the land and the sky. The Z2 has since become a collector's item for history buffs and other collectors. From time to time, one or even two can be seen flying off in the distance. They carry with them the memory of their fallen siblings, who never had a chance to grow and realize their full potential. The few who stuck with the Z2 have since developed a deep level of understanding and respect for the old ways. It was never meant to be like the original Zeta. Maybe at one point it was upon its early inception. However, when it was brought to life, it was clear that it never intended to follow in someone else's footsteps. Mobile Suit K9, signing off.